We're good.
Salud.
I think we need to put a beat behind that.
We're good. We're good. We're good.
Shut up and sit down.
Believe in yourself because you came all the way to here. That means you must have some talent. You must have some potential. Just don't throw it away by just giving up.
I let go of the handlebars, let go of the handles. I let go of the handlebars, letting go of the handles. Yeah, I can't keep my hands off you or off my bicycle.
I've told you once and I'll tell you again. Shut up, legs. I'd love to say that to Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Doering as well, but I'd probably get canned from this gig. Nevertheless, enjoy the Dialed podcast.
Yep.
Yes, showing up and participating is important. Trying your best is important, but neither deserves a trophy. If you want one of those, go win some.
Do I look too cool? Do I look too cool? On my bicycle, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm sorry,
You ate all the waffles?
Yes, I did.
Could have asked us if we wanted any.
Nuh-uh, if I give you the waffles, I won't get any.
Link, would you like a waffle?
There is no more waffles. I have them all.
Why, yes, Red. I think I would like 2 waffles.
You can't, you want 2 of them? I just don't know why you guys get all the waffles. You guys are being selfish.
Hi, welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von Doering. I'm here with Lance Hepler.
Lance Hepler here for your listening pleasure today. No nicknames because the mustache speaks for itself.
That's true. It is coming back.
It is. And it is a pleasure. Beefy.
We're moving to what was it? ASMR podcast. Is that right? Did I just say that right? The kids know this stuff. I don't know.
Sully 2.0?
Well, yeah, it's
starting to come back. It's starting to get that little flip out.
It's a little beefy.
It's nicely. It's nicely
slightly
manicured
different.
everywhere else.
It's slightly different. The old one didn't come
flares a bit
down.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to look as ridiculous as possible.
And
again,
this has been
like it.
Mustache Talk.
To his right, Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys are looking all right. You're surviving. That's what we're doing. We're surviving.
we are sitting next to each other, so we get to gaze.
The boys
upon
are back
one
in
another.
town.
Yes, we are. Yeah,
You guys playing footsie down there?
Yep.
maybe.
Absolutely.
And last but not least, Evan Price.
We are all for drinking something different again today. Last time I was here, that was also the case.
Where'd you get a Perrier?
I'm
drinking
Perrier.
I'm drinking Perrier,
which I didn't even know you could still buy anywhere.
because I'm better than all of you.
French.
That is.
That sounds
That's
French. Sounds
true.
kind of cool.
My wife
This is
loves
high
this
class.
stuff, which is
High
why
to
it's
high
in this.
class.
It's in the fridge, so I take some.
3 cents more per 12 pack. I
Something
think.
like that. Yeah.
Backpedal time. Matt, go.
I have kind of fallen into a rut of biking every day, but it's a lot of boring stuff like go out for a quick, easy hour or Watopia,
Ooh, Watopia.
which is pretty boring.
Which is a country off the coast of New Zealand, I believe.
Yes, it is. And yeah, it's been pretty boring. I've swam a couple times as well. I am still not running, and that's it for my back pedal. Move on.
Fantastic.
Move quick. Keep moving.
I'm going to go too. I'm a lot like Matt. The only thing that I did that was kind of cool was we did a Tuesday night gravel ride. That
We
was kind of
did?
fun.
That was cool.
Did a little bit of poaching. Got to see a very beautiful sunset.
We had a blast.
Yes, sir. We did an encore flogging ride. That was fun.
How was that? What happened?
That was good. It was actually
went hard?
Yeah, we went hard. It was one group, and we just went hard, and
Everybody went together.
everybody went
I
together.
didn't go.
Some people got dropped in the first mile. Some people got crushed at the very end. Some people were all over the place, but it was fun. And then this past weekend, it was just a lot of riding on the trainer because my shoulder sucks.
And
Moving on.
No Thursday anything for anymore.
This week? We don't know.
Maybe. I got to go check the times and the weather and all that other fun stuff. There might be another encore ride, but
And
we'll
then
see.
when are the online Zwift rides starting up?
Those should start in the beginning of October sometime.
Okay.
And I think last year we started this will be the 5th year of us doing that, believe it or not.
Wow.
Which is kind of nuts, but I think we usually start in the second week of October when the weather turns and there's no light and it's just back to the dungeon of riding on Zwift.
Are we gonna do a winter training camp? Because I got to train for something. I need something to
Yeah.
like.
That is a plan.
It's
So
like-
we are hoping to have another training camp either the end of January or the 1st of February.
It'll be one of those,
Before I think we are doing it at the end of February.
End of February.
Yeah.
Scratch that.
At some point
Yeah.
I need time
in February.
I need time to get in shape.
Somewhere
for
warmish.
training camp.
There you
Okay.
go.
Yeah.
Start in February.
Yeah, I got that'd be fine.
Reverse periodization. Yeah.
All right, so the other two gentlemen sitting here get to backpedal and actually talk about some bicycle racing and some triathlon racing.
I'll go first because
Evan?
Evans is better than mine.
Okay, there you go.
But Lance also is now waist deep in cross season. Not quite neck deep. We're not quite
It
neck
was
deep,
waist
but-
deep this past
It
weekend.
was
Yeah.
mustache deep.
Yeah.
It's almost mustache.
Which is
That's
not
only for
as-
November. That's deep.
That's not neck deep. It's just mustache deep. So we'll get up there.
So yes, I did race my bike a couple of times this week. Which was because it's cyclocross season.
Drove 8 hours for a 25-minute race.
On a whim Wednesday morning, I decided to drive to Spokane, Washington, to do a 30-minute race that night.
Just to see Tom.
Like you do.
Like I do. There's a little weekly series up in Spokane that they're just starting up, and so
How long a
my
drive do you think that is?
it's 5.5 hours.
5.5 hours.
My daughter's going to Pullman, Washington State University, so it was
That makes
like an
sense, yeah.
excuse to go see her.
But
and-
really not to see her, let's be honest. Yeah.
it was there's a race, so
So you stopped in Pullman?
no,
Or
I
you stopped on the
I
way back?
drove all the way up there. My
Yeah.
daughter and her fiance Julie, they came up and watched me
that's
race.
Wow.
So which
'Cause
was
it's only
very
what?
fun.
Is that like an hour?
It's
for
an
them?
hour and a half.
Hour and a half for them to come up.
Yeah.
Were they
So-
proud of you or disappointed?
Well, I did not win.
Carl, I'd be so bummed in you if I traveled that far. I'd be like, Dad, are you kidding me?
It was a
First
30-minute
of all, were they
race.
disappointed in the mustache or were they proud
If they had rated the mustache, I would have won handily.
Yes.
But no. It was very dry, just a 30-minute race. I started right on the front row and took off and had like a 15-second gap. And then on the second lap, some guy caught me and came around. And I literally sat 6 inches off his wheel for the next 4 laps.
Dang.
He kept trying to drop me in every corner, and I kept being able just to stick right on him and was able to close him.
Yeah.
But on the last lap on 2 corners, he gapped just enough that I couldn't jump back on.
Yeah,
and
that's
so,
rare that you're going to get gapped on a corner, though. So he was a pretty
Yeah.
good bike handler, right?
It turns out he is the local cyclocross coach for all the juniors.
Gotcha.
And he also raced the elite field later in the day and took 3rd in the elite field.
So
So
by my
I-
math, you would have won the elite field.
I would have maybe
according to
been
my math.
4th, or maybe I would have won,
Probably won.
or maybe been 4th. in-
One or the
in
other.
the elite
We'll say
field.
win. Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows?
So I had a blast. It was a lot of fun. Good time. I went to see my daughters then, and then I drove back, and then we had our first proper nasty mud race here in the Pacific
Oh, yeah.
Northwest. We had torrential rain on Friday night and most of the morning on Saturday, and we had the Corn Cross cyclocross race.
Which is a big one.
Which is a big one, designed and put on by Eric Tonkin, who was actually Claire Hansinger's coach for quite a while.
Were the numbers smaller because of the rain?
No, they were almost double of the other races because it was closer to Portland and because proper cyclocross weather is nasty, muddy. And,
Yeah.
And people showed up.
That's awesome.
We had a ton of people there.
I'm glad that many people showed up. That's great.
A lot of fun. Very, very difficult racing. I mean, literally hub deep mud in places.
Oh, jeez.
I raced one of the early races, the 50-plus race. We had 45 people in my field, so a ton of racers. We had the biggest field of the day. They actually were watching us race and realized there was too much mud and cut out a whole section for the rest of the races afterwards.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Because it was...
Let the old guys go get stuck in the mud.
Many people were running. There was a section that went through the cornfield, and they had laid down all these bark chips to try to combat the mud, but it rained an inch.
Yeah.
It's just all gone.
It was all gone. It
Yeah.
was and in the early races it was peanut butter. It eventually turned to soup, and soup was easier to ride through than the peanut butter.
Yeah.
But I laid myself out pretty hard and still only took 6th, which is about where I stack up in that 50-plus field. So I was pretty pleased, happy with it.
You earned some points.
I earned some points for this series. Yeah, it's all fun. We had 23 teammates that raced. We had a ton of people show
Dang.
up. Paul First over here across the lab here. He raced in the elite field and
I saw
took
this. I
saw a photo.
6th
That's awesome.
in the elite field, which is pretty amazing. He was battling this other guy for most of the race. I was able to be in the pit for Paul, and we did some bike switches. And
Yeah.
Was it fun, Paul? Yeah.
yeah.
That's nice.
Paul did great. Beat some people that that normally beat Paul, so he raced really well.
I wonder why.
It's a beast.
You like
Kid's
that
gotten
rough weather?
freaking strong.
He's gotten freaking strong. So tons of great. There was a great vibe. We had team tents up and lots of people hanging out. And
We had how many people from the team
how
race?
many were there?
there was 22
Oh, that's
people that
awesome.
raced, and then there was probably another 15 people who were friends or family of the people who raced.
That's fantastic.
huge.
How many tents did you end up setting up?
We set up 3.
All 3?
Well, we set
even
up,
like the behemoth?
no, because Brian Wise brought his bigger
Oh.
one, which is a little easier to set up than our
a
behemoth
little
one.
is probably an understatement. That 10 by 20 is a monster.
Yeah. But he has a 10 by 15,
Yeah.
and we set that up. So we had 3 tents, and they were
Sweet.
all full.
Nice.
Like we were stacked.
Yeah.
But yeah, tons of fun. Even national champion Clara Honsinger showed up. So she
Dang.
came
She
out
Sign autographs.
and raced. I took some pictures with her,
Did you get your
actually.
butt cheek signed?
She was there with her
I'm
boyfriend.
never watching this
Emmett.
again.
Yeah, that's right. What's crazy about her, she raced the women's elite field and, of course, won by several minutes.
Yep.
As soon as that race finished, rolled right back over to the start line and raced the men's elite field.
Well, how'd you do in the?
I think she was 13th in the
Wow.
men's elite field.
Jeez.
I think that's cool. I'm glad that she does that and she gets some good experience
Just a
racing.
beast.
And I mean, this was the one weekend that she has a full series of races on the East Coast for the next month,
Like
and then
New
she's
England?
going to Europe. Yeah,
Okay.
mostly in Europe. And there's like a race in the World Championships are coming to Fayetteville, Arkansas in January, and there's a UCI race in November, and so she's going to do all those races too.
Yeah.
So with her other team, so it was super fun to watch her out there racing with her national championship.
I'm not sure if
jersey
you
on.
caught this part or not, but someone said that she might have been on a gravel bike for the race. And she wasn't using her A bike. She was using a 2-ringed, looked like a gravel bike.
I have no
You had
idea.
no idea?
But
Okay.
All respect for that.
She was
Holy
riding
cow.
18.
So it was
Hopped on a road bike over there.
It was super cool. So many pictures and videos of just completely nasty, mudded out bikes and people and faces.
I know, I love the
and
picture of Paul. That was my favorite.
Paul's
It was a
face
pure
was
mud
covered-
smile.
and he
It's
had
great.
mud all over his teeth.
That
too.
is awesome.
It was awesome. So we had a good time. So that was basically my week. Spent
What races do you have coming up?
this week. We actually have a big race this Saturday called Vanport Cyclocross. It's going to be at PIR, our first in Portland cyclocross race. Dialed Cycling is helping with the setup and whatnot with that, so we're excited about that. Scott Schultz is putting that race on.
You're killing my one last thing right now.
Yeah, and his one last thing is gone.
Come up with something else.
Yeah, we'll just go and talk about that real quick. It's actually at PR, but it's not in the infield. It's at
It's at Heron Lakes.
I think it's Heron Lakes. He's calling it the Broad Acre Lot, if I'm not mistaken. So would that be the Heron Lakes aspect of it?
It is. It's like the back side. It's not on the infield. It's on the other
Correct.
side of it. Yeah.
Yep, and we're listed as a sponsor, and our team's going to be out there supporting, providing a bunch of, volunteer work, if you
Yep.
will, and we're going to be out there just helping people out all day long.
We are excited for that.
Fun times.
So there is a race down in Springfield near Eugene on Tuesday night. I might go do that.
Tuesday night, you said?
Tuesday night.
That'd be fun.
I don't think I'm going to go back to Spokane this week because
You never know.
That would be awesome if you just make that a thing.
just
Like,
Just take
and
your
Lance
helicopter.
Hepler
Take your
drove in
helicopter.
from Vancouver this Wednesday.
I showed up and they're like, you drove from where? There's like 50 people in this race. I'm like, yeah.
Dude,
This is like a gr-
30-minute race. You drove how long?
It's like a group ride. I barely drove 15 minutes here. I was considering not coming.
It's long
I had
night.
a good time.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
though. That is so cool.
That was my week.
Nice.
Evan, you did a race this weekend.
So, unlike cyclocross,
Does anybody know who the best triathlete in the West? The best in the West?
best?
No
Who's
one
the
knows.
best in the West?
I
No
would
one
say
knows.
Eric Walkerstrom.
if by west you mean west of East Vancouver, then I think
And that's you.
then I might have that one locked up. But I think west of Boulder, I got a few names ahead of me for sure. So unlike cyclocross and triathlon, we do not enjoy pouring rain and muddy conditions and standing water. But we were lucky enough in the Pacific Northwest to get a ton of rain this weekend because we have not had a lot of rain recently. So that was very good. But, of course, it has to be the one weekend that me and Lance are both racing. So
Lance is always racing, though. So
best in the West. Best in the West is a race that has now been going on for 10 years, I believe. This was the 10th anniversary, which was really cool. The owners of the race, I believe, are a married couple, Blair, and I forget the woman's name. Matt, do you know the woman's name?
Blair and Rachel.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they're super nice.
Oh, they're awesome. They put on a great race, and I'll get on my soapbox about this too. Like local race, people need to be going to this race over Maple Valley in the future. I was talking with some friends about this and people who decided to go to Maple Valley.
There were 2 competing half Ironman races going on this weekend. One on
Best
Saturday and one on Sunday.
This is like the Best
Ironman
of the
Maple
West.
Valley.
This is like the 8th year in a row that Best of the West has been going on. And
10th.
Ironman 10th. Okay, Ironman moved in and decided which weekend should they put their race on.
Yep.
Oh,
the one weekend.
I will be pretty vocal about this next year. I think anybody locally who does triathlon, I will talk to anybody. You need to be going to Best in the West. And I even told Blair, I was like, hey, Dialed, we're making this a weekend next year. You can't help that the faster age groupers in the area are probably going to go to Worlds, which is this weekend.
It was also this weekend.
That might change in the future on the weekend that they put that. But Best in the West, in my opinion, if that lands on the same weekend as Maple Valley, I would love to see Ironman have terrible attendance at Maple Valley. That'd be great.
Good luck.
I know, but they put on an awful race there. They did terrible organization for that race.
What happened with that? Like, why was it terrible?
Real short, but they did not think through their transportation getting to and from the race site. They were shoving people's bikes into Penske trucks, bringing them there and back, and there was a lot of damage to the bikes, too.
There was no on-site parking for
Yep.
athletes. So
Ironman didn't think
you
it
had
through
to
at all.
shuttle to the start, and it made it
a nightmare. It was
yeah.
rough. I mean, congratulations to everybody who finished that race because you are tough as nails because that was not a smooth race day thing to go through at all. But I hope if people rub the wrong way by that next year they say, hey, we're going to go and support a local race, which is what they should do.
Was this the same race? I think Carlos posted something about this race.
Yes, Carlos was the one posting like on-site like evidence of how awful this was.
Yeah. It was like he likened it to
updates.
like the overpasses in Portland where all the homelessness.
Carlos had some of the funniest posts about this I've seen. It was hilarious. But yeah, it was a shame. Now
that's really unfortunate.
People who finished there really trucked through it. Sean and Shelly Ross, getting back into racing, they both made it through the race, which was great to see. Nicole Francisco, who Josh Monda coaches, made it through that race. Colleen, Carlos's wife, her dad made it through the race too.
That's cool. Excellent.
Awesome. So
they're
they're
like 6 months post-op from
from a knee replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, just awesome stories there. But I hope that all those people who did Maple Valleys next year, we all go to Best in the West and have a blast next year. But anyway,
where did you stay? Did you stay in Albany?
This is the problem with Best in the West is that you kind of got to stay a little bit, like
or
20, 30 minutes away.
A lot of people camp.
People can camp too, yeah. So
that's like the big thing to do.
We stayed in Lebanon, actually, which was only a 25-minute drive the morning of. It wasn't bad. But me and Cassie both had, she had to work Friday, so we got there a little late. There was tons of traffic getting down. We're cranky in the car. Luckily, me and Cassie do race weeks very well together, but we got to this motel. It's kind of... I've stayed in some pretty shady motels in my life. This is one where I was like, there's probably murder in this room right before us. It was a questionable motel.
The good thing is the bed bugs will cover up all the blood stains.
Yeah, exactly. Well, also, bed bugs are just doping. You just get your blood flowing right before the race. So you just get bit a couple times.
Yeah. Oh.
But
keep you moving on the bike.
So it was a very firm mattress, too. I'm not going to be somebody who complains about mattresses because I should, I don't need a good bed. I deserve to sleep on the floor. But it was not like premier night recovery before this is what you don't win races in 340 half Ironmans. This is what you deserve as a pro, is like you get to sleep in motels. So I slept maybe 2 hours the night before, woke up, drank my Red Bull, ate my cold eggs because the microwave did not work very well, so I ate basically frozen eggs the morning of and frozen bread. And so we got going to the race venue, and it just starts pouring. It's just pouring and pouring and pouring. And I think compared to the mental state I went into Des Moines when we were in a similar scenario, and Cassie put it really well, was I lost the race before it started mentally. Same physical shape going into both races. I've had my best builds going into races that I've ever had this year. bar none the best fitness I've ever been in. So it's just getting the mental right. This race, I knew I was racing one guy, and his name is Andy Kruger, and he's like 21 or 22 years old, and he's insanely fast. So I knew I just need to focus on one person, and I just need to have a better mental day than he does. And we get to the start of the swim. I'm feeling good on the swim. It's still raining. The water's really cold, but I'm like, thank God it's wetsuit at least. So I know I have a wetsuit.
Helps.
And the course was really easy to sight because it's beautiful water at best in the way. It's like the cleanest water I've ever swam in by far. Swim goes great, actually, and I feel great the entire time. I'm leading the chase pack behind Andy, who's a actual pro Ironman swimmer. He
was, I assume,
he's
out.
fast. Yeah, so he swam 25 high, which is anybody who knows half Ironman racing. That's legit.
Right,
yeah, you are a legit chase pack swimmer in a pro field. I swam 29 flat, which is
29 flat
slow
good.
Pro swimming, but for me that is perfect because I was
good.
3 minutes off of him.
Because I feel like 29 high is what I would expect from you.
Yeah, I think I'm progressing into 28 shape. So we are coming out of the water feeling good, sprint up through transition, get on the bike. All of a sudden realize I'm super dizzy because it was a cold swim.
Yeah.
And, I'm just, as I get older, I think the amount of concussions I've had in my past is starting to catch up with me. Right. It really is because...
it's the cold water on your ear, so
it is too.
Do the earplugs.
Yeah, I really do need that because now my last 2 races I've come out of the water and been very
It's hard to
dizzy.
put shoes on or anything on when you're dizzy.
Yeah, so
that happens to me at Pat Crest.
Yep. Garen Hunter was making fun of me because when I jumped on the bike, he said, he was like, "Yeah, you swerved straight into the curb, man." It was swerving right towards the curb and I had to kind of correct it. And after about 60 seconds on the bike, it leveled out and I was fine. But it started pouring on the bike and I hammered the entire time, thinking in my head, I got to make up this gap to Andy on the bike. Unfortunately for Andy, he was not having a great day. The conditions were really tough. Hands frozen on the bike. It was, sitting water. It's like, it was a grinder of a bike. This was not like your premier PR day. That is for sure.
He didn't have gloves. He didn't have.
No. And his legs, he said, were just like not frozen, there. Yeah. So frozen. And I picked him up on the course pretty early in the bike and he tried to hang on. He made it through about 1 lap in the chase group and then called it a day after that.
Was there a group?
There was a group of 3 behind.
He stopped altogether.
Stopped
really
at the halfway point on the bike. He was it was a tough day for him. Still great fitness.
Is the halfway point all the way out there by like that?
The halfway point, actually, the way they did it was you did an out and back. So then the halfway point was technically like right near transition. And then you did another out and back to come back in.
Okay.
They had to change the course. They did. So they changed the course, which added about 300 or 400 feet of elevation gain too. Which for me, really, if I had been racing somebody, I would have liked. I liked having that much climbing. It was different types of climbing too, because it was very punchy and then steady and then punchy and then steady. And there's one climb that's like, I'm not sure if you remember that one, Matt, but you're coming out and it's like you get up to 14, 15% for a bit, which I love. That was a punchy climb. Yeah. But felt great on the bike. Came in at like 220, 221, I think. Which honestly, in my head, I was racing without a watch because I've lost my watch. So I had no watch.
How did you lose your watch?
No idea. Trust me, Cassie was getting all over me on this. I have no idea how I lost my watch, but I lost it. So I have no watch. So I raced the swim with no
Matt
watch.
Just handed him his watch.
So
there you go, Evan.
In my head, the
nice
great
watch.
thing was with this race that I loved mentally about this was came out of the water, felt good. So I'm like, I swam 22 in my opinion. Great. Keep on moving. Got out fast. Felt like I crushed that bike. Like I felt like I rode great. In my head, I was like, maybe I went 210. I'm like 10 minutes off of what I actually went.
Maybe you should never wear a watch.
I'm thinking about it now.
Because like in your mind, you're so fast.
I'm just creating my own race in my head at this point. And as Josh put it, I was on a solo TT the entire time. I could create whatever scenario I want in my head. You'd be a sociopath out there.
You roll past a tree and you're like, I think I just passed Lionel Sanders.
I think that's Jan up there. I'm pretty sure that's Jan.
Today is a good day.
I think I'm the fastest human being ever right now in my head.
I think I'm going 40 miles an hour right now, uphill.
So the numbers from the race, I averaged 360 watts. No, I'm joking. I'm just making this up. But
so you didn't have a watch. Do you have a bike computer on there?
No, nothing. I just rode.
You just went.
I just rode hard.
Just
and
naked. You just rode naked.
I have like this stacked aggressive arrow position now too. I was just like head down. I was like making sure my forehead was touching my hand as much as I can.
Wow.
I was just hammering having a blast. I was like talking to myself on the bike too. I know I'm having a good day when I talk to myself the whole time. That's just a little insight to my races. I should probably mic myself up in a race.
You should mic yourself up. That would be
I
great.
sound hilarious, I'm sure. Hilariously stupid.
Yeah.
But I, get off the bike and in my head, just because I thought I did so good on the bike, I was like, I'm going to try and go sub 4 on this course. Like, I had that in my head on the run. So I just I think my first mile was like 5:38. I'm like, cool, I'll hold this the whole time.
And
like,
it's hilly too.
It has like 800 feet of elevation gain on the run. So I'm like, this is sustainable. Let's just stay with this. And to be honest, I felt great I was under control the entire run. The hills took a little bit out of the last 5K I couldn't be as spicy as I wanted to finish, but ran great, ran in the 116s off the bike.
That's impressive.
Came in at 4:10, which was 10 minutes slower than I thought I was actually
phenomenal.
going, but yeah, I was happy.
Yeah, but you won by like 25 minutes, Evan.
It was a big gap. So I
you smoked the rest of the field.
I was pretty happy with that. I'll tell you what, I wish this had been a race in a pro field because I do think I would have
done better.
Yeah, just like the way the fitness played out, the way I raced that day, I think I would have been in the middle of a pro field.
Mixed it
So
up.
yeah.
Just don't wear a watch next time.
I'm honestly thinking it's going to be races without watches now because the very next day, Cassie needed a long ride on the trainer. We had to do specific stuff. I trained 5 hours the next day. I trained 3 hours today. There's no fatigue in the legs. It's
Congratulations, Evan.
nothing.
That's
you should
freaking
this
awesome.
should be your rest week, probably.
I've got a rest week planned in California that we're having in like the end of October before I build for Palm Springs. So I know.
Lance, did you sign him up on your program?
I know.
Is that what it is?
There's a 2-year training program.
Would I
that
ever
I'm
suggest?
selling.
Would I ever suggest somebody doing this? No. And I know if Shelly Ross is listening right now, she's probably rolling her eyes at me because I put in some workouts for her this week, and she was so mad at me. She was like, "Evan, I need to rest this week." I was like, "No, just like you're gonna be fine. Don't worry." And she's probably listening to this and like, "Evan's an idiot."
Well, you should make sure that that you don't come off this high and feel crappy next week.
Yeah,
if you do, just
the next day or two are going to be easy. It's very controlled training. So
I love it. You freaking ripped it, Evan.
Yeah,
Congrats
on the race.
It was a fun race, man. Racing's fun.
Yep.
Everybody go race Best in the West next year. Thank you.
Well done, Evan.
Well done.
There was no crowd cheering for him because it was raining.
Because we were not in front of a live studio audience either, and everybody was just angry it was raining. So.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Shout out to Garen out there too. God, he was like out there volunteering, and he was like one of the few voices I could hear the entire time too. He was a great guy. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Garen. Jumped the gun there just a little bit, but
Champ here.
Hey, he's back.
Champ is here. Champ
is back
Bailey
in the
here.
house.
We had some racing this last weekend on the international stage. First off was the World Championship time trial won by Felipe
Ganna. Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go, Italy.
Which was
the greatest country in the world.
Big disappointment for Wout van Aert.
How many times is he the first runner-up?
He has like 6 silver medals at World Championships.
Yeah.
Something
Poor
like that.
He's still got some great results. He'll be winning.
It was like a
only by
47 kilometer time
6
trial.
seconds
He
or
lost by
something,
6
wasn't it?
seconds.
6 seconds.
Yeah, guess who was third? Your favorite.
Oh, I know, Remco. Yeah.
Evanpool was third.
Did he cry? Flip people
yeah,
off?
Yeah, he flipped people off
yeah,
after and complained about, I don't know, was his brakes rubbing?
Something like that. So pretty crazy that, that team time trial went. It's not even a team time trial.
Lawson.
Champ Bailey here.
Yeah.
I'm going to start over. There was... Yeah, anyway, so kind of exciting.
Lawson, Craddock, and Brandon McNulty kind of had rough days for the Americans.
They were in the top 20-ish, I think. Yeah,
they both had goals to try and touch the top 10, though. And I think they both had the ability to be there.
Yeah, it just didn't.
Which is still like, I mean, to sit here and say like, oh man, top 20 is bad. I mean, they're both incredible, and I love them both. They are both awesome. But you were hoping one of them could maybe crack a top 10.
Right.
So.
Who was the American that got signed by Ineos after the race this weekend?
It was Magnus Sheffield.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
He was like a U23 guy, maybe? Is that what it is?
Yeah, he was like second at the
had a
Cyclocross
great-
Nationals a couple years ago.
wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's legit.
He had a really good road race Worlds 2 in 2019,
I
didn't
think
he?
so.
Was it
He
2019?
He was
he on the podium,
second
or-
behind
Simmons?
the Tool.
Was it Quinn?
Quinn
Simmons. Who's the tool?
Did I say that out loud?
I mean, it kind of is. Let's be. I've never met the guy, but I feel like you can read enough
shouldn't have said
stories.
that.
It's like Remco. You can like read enough stories and be like, I'm sure I wouldn't be shocked if I don't like this guy if I met him.
Tool.
Oh, I'm gonna get myself in trouble. Anyway, so Magnus Sheffield was signed by Ineos Grandos, which is pretty amazing. Also on the racing front, we had a World Cup mountain bike cross country race in Snowshoe, Vermont, and For the first time in 30 years, an American won a UCI cross-country race.
Fantastic.
Christopher Blevins pulled off the win in that, which is just absolutely fantastic. So everybody was excited that an American actually won that. So good on you. Good for them.
Nice.
There was also the World Championship. Before we get to triathlon, there was also the first like UCI-ish big race on the West Coast for cyclocross at Go Cross, and who was it? Curtis White and Kerry Werner were out there mixing it up. There was a Saturday race and a Sunday race. The two of them sprinted it out on the first day, like literally within like 4 feet of each other. So that was kind of an exciting finish. You don't usually get a sprint finish in cyclocross races. So that was kind of exciting. And then there was the World Championships for the half Ironman distance at St. George, Utah. And who won that, Matt?
Gustav Eden won the male on the guy's side.
He kind of crushed the course, kind of ran away with it. He was being run down by Sam Long.
Which is crazy to think that Sam Long could be with some of those guys. Like second place for him is huge. I think that's the best. I think that's the best race he's
and
had.
then also beating
similar that.
Yeah, I mean, like
he
beating.
He was in a running race with the same guy that he
Daniel
was in a running
Backegaard.
race.
Yeah. So I mean, outrunning Backegaard's pretty amazing there.
But he's done that before, right?
Yes, he beat but the thing when he beat Backegaard earlier in the year when they had just the St. George 73 race, the problem was Backegaard had a penalty that he knew about. So Backegaard kind of pulled back at that point when he was in Lionel and Sam's group. Right. So this was straight up, he beat Daniel this time. I mean, now, to be honest, though, the Norwegians are just on another planet. Gustav Eden and Christian Blumenfeld right now are insanely fit. I mean, I think you're, and I'll even include myself in here, I was dumb even thinking. I did not pick against them, but even in my head, I was like, oh, no, maybe somebody can slip in there. No, it's...
Christoph's got the gold medal curse, though. Like, you get that, and you're just like, everyone's like, well, I'm done for the season. Why would I,
And then everything starts malfunctioning, too, on your
bike.
Also,
it was mechanical reason that he... But...
He would have been right there. But and then on the women's side, there was an awesome finish between Taylor Knibb, the American, the young American who rode on a road bike because why not? You know, she had a saddlebag on a road bike in a professional Ironman race. I mean,
it's
really.
I love it.
I
is
love
there
the
anything?
comments.
Is there any stronger flex than showing up to a pro world championship race and you're like, hey, do you want to take the saddlebag off? No, I'm good. That's fine.
Well,
it
you
stays on.
put the reflectors back on.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's so many.
Put the pie plate protector
exactly.
back on.
Yeah. Why not? When you push that many watts, nobody's gonna say anything to you.
Did you see any comments like, "It doesn't matter what bike you have. Look at what she did."
Yeah,
and it's like,
I think that's. I think we'd both probably agree with this.
Come on,
that's okay. People seem to think that because you're fast, you know things, and let me be very clear: you don't. That's okay. Like Taylor is insanely fit. But if you're Taylor's coach, even if she's like, no, I'm really comfortable on this road bike, you'd be like, yeah, but we're trying to win a world championship right now. And I promise you that the saddlebag is not helping you. Like, I mean, you would think somebody in her corner's got to be like, I'm sure she's very particular. Like, I mean, when you're that good at something, I feel like you really do lock into certain sensations and you're like, I don't want to switch. But you're like, look, you could like win this race though.
We're talking over a mile and a half faster on the bike.
You are very not arrow in the position. Like even her clip-on arrow position, it's like comical looking at it.
It's not the same.
Yeah, I'm sure if you look at the power profile between her and Lucy, she blew Lucy away. I'm sure.
Which is who actually won the
by
race?
By a lot.
Lucy Charles. She
by a wide margin.
Smoked the field.
She is basically an Olympic swimmer.
She is
got out of the water first. Big surprise.
Yeah.
But then she got caught on the bike, and then she passed again on the bike, and that was the end of it.
Yeah.
That was the end of that game.
Yeah. She played her race perfectly.
Exciting.
She runs really fast now, so anybody who thinks they can run her down, not going to happen anymore. And she still is the best
What do you
swimmer
think
in the
about Daniela Rife? I don't remember exactly what place she finished.
She was having a good race when she bridged up to Taylor Knibb at Snow Canyon and then blew up. Something happened. She like blew up the second half of the race. She was just
they're concerned about like
she might be on the back end of her career now. If she is and she descends down and then retires in the next couple of years, she'll still go down as one of the best of all time. But she's
another one of those like, oh, I'm riding with like a t-shirt on and a bike, you know, like when she first started.
Oh yeah.
She was
like the Chrissy Wellington group when like I think there was a story like Chrissy Wellington won her first triathlon like on a mountain bike.
Yeah,
went to a
and
local race, jumped on a mountain bike and won. Yeah,
and
it's
then
like,
she won a ton of races on the Cervelo P2, which is
Yeah.
kind of like entry level bike. It's like
Yeah.
I mean that I can kind of understand a little bit more.
no
than
deep wheels either, just like riding.
I can. Do
When you're strong,
things.
you're strong. But yeah.
Yep.
Well done. There we go. That is racing. Champ Bailey out.
Should we call out Eric Lagerstrom for his 7th
Oh
place
my God,
finish?
yes.
Wait, he was like in the
Seventh?
top 10.
Eric
That's
Lagerstrom.
7th. That's
Huge.
fantastic.
That's
Anyone
amazing.
else we need to call out?
Good for Eric.
Just good for Eric. I mean, that's really the one. Like, if you're from the Pacific Northwest, just that's awesome.
That was good. Good day.
Great day for him. Hope that
Champ Bailey double out.
Yeah, there we go. We're
Double
good.
out.
All right, how about some Patreon? We haven't done this in a little while. Let's do a drawing.
Patreon drawing.
Patreon drawing. Who wants to pull the
Matt
old-
LeGrand.
Matt LeGrand's got it.
Pick a name out of the bucket of names.
Bucket of name.
We got the bucket of names. Who we got?
Rob Buck.
Rob Buck wins again. However, Rob, in your defense, we've gone through the entire pool, all of the names and everybody who's a patron, and there's quite a few of them in there.
There is.
They're back in there. So, Bud, you won again. Next time you're in town, come on by and say
Come
hi.
on by. And yeah, for now, your name is getting moved to the winner pile. So
Yeah,
yes.
he did say though there was a time where it was getting kind of ridiculous. His thing just jumped out of the bin. It seems like all the time, and he was going to donate money to Bikes for Kids every time we pulled his name out of that. So, man, we should have put his name in there a few times. Cool. If you want to become a patron and help support the Dialed Podcast, we would greatly appreciate it, and you can do so by going to dialedpodcast.com and find the Patreon link there, and you can go and pick and choose a Patreon that works best for you. All of the patrons who have been supporting the show now for quite some time, we really do appreciate that because it definitely helps us out. It helps. It's not a ton of money, but it helps cover a lot of costs
It does.
because there's carrying costs for us to put this out every week. So we do this because it's fun and we want to keep doing it for you.
Me
and you're
and Matt's
helping
salary
us
is
do
not
that.
cheap either. I'll
Yeah.
tell you what.
Yep.
I need Perrier water and
I'm
mustache
restructuring
wax.
my salary for next year, and I'll tell you what, Perrier may be in the contract.
We're working on the contract now.
I know.
Hey guys, guess what? This past weekend it was Lance Armstrong's birthday. So let's talk about drugs.
Let's talk about doping.
Let's talk about drugs and me.
This has been Drug Talk.
Yes, Lance Armstrong turned 50 years old.
50.
Nobody cares.
I still have his picture next to me
Except
you do.
Evan.
on the trainer.
Did you guys listen
your
to his podcast during the tour this year?
I
course I
actually listen
always
to it
do.
every day.
Of course
do
you do.
Still? I mean, he doesn't do it every day now. It's just during the tour,
During
right?
the tour, he did it every day, and then they would do one like once a week for the Vuelta, I think.
I
So
heard it got pretty heavy with advertising. Or
Oh
like
my
just
God,
those
yeah.
spots and
It's
whatnot.
very heavy with advertising.
there's a lot of
now.
advertising.
There is.
You-
I just skipped through the advertising, but yeah.
Well, he sprinkles it amongst the whole thing.
He does.
It's actually a pretty decent podcast during the race because they have people who know things.
Johan Bernal and George Hincapie are excellent.
They're
They
excellent.
are excellent.
They
I
really
love
are.
Lance, but don't get me wrong. Lance knows like nothing about bike racing anymore,
Well-
and he even kind of admits that sometimes. He's like, I'm not even sure if I watch a race. Like he just
But Johan Bernal is
his
like
insight's amazing.
is brilliant. So
Yeah.
listening to all that made it very interesting.
Yes, George's insight too to just the fluctuations in the peloton, what happens during stage racing. He's so good at that.
And everybody likes George, so
Yes.
all the there's a lot of pro riders that are still friends with George. Nobody's friends with Armstrong.
No,
but
Lance doesn't talk
but,
to anybody.
But everybody's friends with George, so he gets a lot of inside information
He
too,
does.
which also makes it
He does.
interesting.
Yep.
So there was a little article that came out this past weekend that I was reading. It was from Cycling Weekly, and it basically just talks about the riders in the pro peloton who are coming to the UCI. Their head honcho, what's his name again? David
Lapartient.
something like that.
Lapartient?
Is he the president of the
UCI.
UCI? Okay.
And they've been basically coming to the UCI, letting them know that there's stuff going on and there's things that they are
There's still cheating happening.
exactly, and that there's big gaps between
No.
the testing and big gaps between the drugs that are being
Wait a
used.
minute. You're telling me that there's still results driven in endurance sports and there's still doping?
Yeah.
What was the
Yeah.
quote? There was one very good quote, like, if there's racing,
There's going to be
there's going to be cheating.
Humans are good at
as long
or,
as they
like,
still
yeah,
give out a
something like
first,
that.
second, and third place. There's going to be.
I mean, there's got to be a ton of money in providing drugs to
Oh, yeah.
professional athletes. I mean,
There's dirty pharmacists and
Probably
docs
depends
everywhere.
on the drug. You know, I mean, if it's EPO, that's an expensive drug, right?
Yeah.
But if it's, beta alanine, infusion, right? That's one of the other things that I think is going on that's somewhat secret or whatever.
Pretty
then
affordable.
It's pretty cheap. But then doing the IV style probably costs a little bit. Who knows?
You actually need somebody to administer. Well, you should have somebody to administer
you
it, but you could probably
who knows?
train a Sonia.
Blood
to do
transfusions, those you need
those are expensive.
You need a refrigerator for that,
or you'll die. Yeah.
Or who knows? You may be dying on any of these things.
Yeah.
Cycling
what else is going on?
Well, like any sport these days, there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money on the front side of that business, and if you can be an exceptional
on the front side, and that's the scary part is to get into that front side is where I think you see a lot of people that'll get risky or to get up there.
Exactly, and those are the ones that we read about getting caught.
Yes.
Now the ones that are already in that spot, they want to maintain their status. They want to maintain their contracts. They want to get paid. So
these are the ones I think have the smartest docs and pharmacists and leaders, because what they'll do is, and I think this is what this article was hinting at, but this is even what people were saying with like the Sky Train, is that they were doing a very good job at microdosing and timing their dosages. So whenever, I think historically with the Lance Armstrong era, everybody started to realize that, just because somebody's testing negative does not mean that they're not doping. What that means is that they're on a very well-timed program where they're making sure that they're not, the phrase is glowing.
They've got people paid off on the inside to cover up. And
that's probably the easier option, honestly. Yeah.
And that happened. I mean, UCI was
absolutely, they were 100% paid off.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that they're getting smarter over time, and I think when you look back at the history, when you talk about the Festina affair, Cofidis too, I think was that time era. I'm pretty sure, like roughly 90s. Okay. You're talking about big busts that they didn't actually catch people doping. What they caught was the process. So they caught, trucks or cars coming into France during the tour with product. So maybe even historically, I'm not sure if we got that much better at catching the doper. It was just they got lucky at times. And maybe they haven't gotten lucky in a while because they are just smarter and smarter about it right now.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about this in just a minute, getting into more of like potentially what they could be doing right now. But in terms of trying to actually like solve this problem, I mean, like you guys mentioned, if there's racing and there's a podium, there's always going to be someone out there cheating because humans are really good at cheating, right?
The quote is, by nature, man is limitless in the imagination to cheat.
There you go.
Just by nature.
Is that guy French?
Yeah.
It's good.
Is he? Because that's a very French-sounding quote to me.
Again, it's the teams, it's the riders. Those are the ones that are getting all of the big money. Like the UCI is not necessarily like flush with cash. I'm sure that there's some money there.
You think there's any like state-sponsored doping?
Oh, yeah.
Let's throw out some names like
Russia.
Guaranteed.
Well, that happened, and they got busted for it.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
So my question was, though, would it ever behoove the UCI to like start getting sponsorships or somehow start raising money so that they can up the ante with what they're going to be doing for anti-doping?
I think that they're pretty well. I won't say that
what
they're
company wants to sponsor like anti-doping. Like that's not the most popular.
It'd be kind of a PR.
You want to sponsor like the cool winning team. You don't want to sponsor like and Team Garmin busted. Busted another doper.
Congratulations, Swift, on another.
How many more black eyes can the organization take, though? Because it's not if, but when we're going to find more people, and it'll eventually catch up. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out the people we're doping, and it's just going to. It's going to be
How
a black
many
eye
more
to the sport.
black eyes to the sport can it take? I don't know, but we've done nothing but have black eyes for the past
entire
press, history of the sport.
Does this kind of go under any press as good press? Because the Olympics for sure has. I mean, the Olympics might be the only thing that can rival the Tour de France in not cleanliness.
Yeah. Well,
so
just assume that
maybe the MLB, but
the teams and the riders potentially have millions of dollars to throw at getting the drugs that they need and to be able to fly under the radar. Can you combat that with a big purse on the other side for testing to kind of up the ante and maybe flip some of these people? Yeah. I mean, if you're able to get somebody that's making drugs to come over and work you, just like they do with in the black what is that? I'm drawing a blank here. We're going to talk about technology, and you get a lot of
the dark web.
You get a lot of people and programmers and
like
scammers,
programmers, hackers that come back. And
hacker, that was the word I was looking for. Thank you. I don't know what I was trying to blank. So they'll bring them over to work for, we'll call them the
security,
the good guys or whatever, and that helps to kind of shore up the process. Do you think something like that would work for doping?
I think that
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Only at the level where. So I think what you have is coaches that are very confident that they're not going to get in trouble talking about what's working for their athletes. This combination of things is working for our athletes, and they'll maybe pass that on to a couple of other people, and that's how the information is spread. That's the kind of information that the UCI needs to know about, right? And they probably are learning here, little bits and details that way. But like those jobs, like having one of those people come over and like work for drug testing, I don't think is gonna like make or break the. I don't think it's gonna be like the hacker situation where it's like now we can fix the problem or whatever. I think that the real chemistry and things like that are the people that are going to do better at catching dopers. Like, what are the odds that this person has 10 times the level of whatever this XYZ hormone is? Like, okay, well, not very likely. So we should flag it this way. And I think it's more of a chemistry.
That's kind of what I was thinking of. Not necessarily just getting like a coach. I was talking about like a chemist or somebody that's into bioengineering or something like that, where you pay that person to come over and be able to look at the situation and say, all right, let's figure this out. Let's reverse engineer the whole process, or let's talk about what's happening here, what's potentially out there in terms of what science knows and how they know how to apply that to an athlete so that they can get the performance enhancing effect that they're looking from.
I think it's tricky. I mean, like, your real big dollar like research chemistry, or like where you could think of like kind of where doping could go in the future is like genetic doping, right? Like altering your genes to be a faster athlete, which technically could be going on at this point. Like the technology is there to do some tweaking, and I could see like one of those very highly skilled, very well educated, university research backed people coming over and working with anti-doping to kind of say like, okay, well, how would you detect that? That would be hard to detect, but maybe you see this kind of flag. I wouldn't be surprised if those people are communicating with, anti-drug organizations and saying like, here's what you should look for. Here's what you should look for. Here's the kind of chemicals that we use to alter genes, right? Like they basically like modify, like a virus, right, to go in and make changes to your DNA or whatever is needed to actually like make you a better performing athlete. That's the kind of stuff. Maybe they could flag some stuff that way where they're like, "Oop, this person had this virus that's only used for genetic alterations."
Well, and you think about this too. That this is not outside the realm. They've discussed this already. Is now with genetic profiling, so you can take a look at somebody and say, this is your percentage of type 2A muscle fibers. This is your genetic build as an athlete. You can come up with a profile basically. And I would not put it past countries that have very well organized Olympic programs.
Let's just name them Blavania.
Let's just call it Russia and, China, just to name two off the top of my head that would take resources. People and say, okay, you should probably have a child together. You're probably going to create a good athlete. And is that doping, or is that just being really smart with your, your fostering of athletes?
Same thing is
way
happening
too young
in the
of
U.S.
ages.
too, right? Like you go to Boulder and you're just like, well, it seems like all the athletes are with the other athletes. You go
it does seem to happen that way.
Arkansas.
It does seem to happen that way.
Why are all these people married to each other? Dang it, this team is going to be fast in 20 years.
I mean, they literally called Boulder the bubble, so that does make sense. But I mean, it's. I think when you look at that, that's a form of
genetic doping.
Of genetic doping to some extent. If there's some research behind it,
Speaking of Slovenia,
let's go with Slovenia.
Yeah, Slovenia.
The article did mention that, like during the Tour de France, there were days that Tadej Pogačar was tested 3 times.
I know, that's
in
impressive.
a day at 6 a.m.
But what if he was just one of these like genetic
and right after the race?
Has anybody checked into his parents? He says.
You're right. If it's, I mean that's like if they're trying to find something chemical. If he's on, I mean, it's not like he wasn't tested. It's just like, or has he? I don't want to speculate.
Let's speculate.
But let's speculate. His doctors are smarter than the anti-doping doctors.
But I think here's the thing. So this is wrapping this back around to I love the idea of on Lance Armstrong's 50th birthday to talk about what is his legacy is, and this is coming from a Lance Armstrong fan, is unfortunately now we're full of skepticism in
Yes.
this sport. We are full of skepticism.
But
And
shouldn't we have been full of skepticism before?
Oh, we should have for sure, because let's be honest. I mean, Miguel Indurain, Marco Pennantani,
the Covis team.
Hinault, the entire Covis team, Festina. I mean, we're looking back at,
All of Postal.
history
All
and
of Postal.
history of doping. Eddie Merckx. Let's be honest. Come on.
Eddie
I mean,
Merckx, come on. Let's
Come
give him
on.
a- let's give him
Oh,
a-
no. I
give him a-
mean,
give him a
a
little-
180-pound man should be able to climb up mountains as fast as a 120-pound man. No, that makes
Yes.
sense. No, I mean, of
It's Merckx.
course, there's been generations of this. It's just adapting. The problem is that I think there was still romanticism around cycling, even when we probably knew that Eddie Merckx was doing stuff, or Miguel Indurain was doing stuff, or Marco Pantani was very openly doing stuff, and there's the Jan Ulrichs even. It's, there was still a romanticism around cycling. I hope that stays, but Lance's legacy, unfortunately, is cycling became calculated, and it became calculated through this realization that you can alter the human machine. And Lance was a machine that was altered.
Yeah.
Now, granted, if you took away all the drugs, I still believe that man would have won every single race, because he was there. There's something you can't dope, and that is the will to win. Because this is what people don't understand with doping, is that, like, yes, they're getting an advantage, but really all that EPO gives you is the opportunity to train more and more and more and more.
and oxygen carrying capacity, which helps in race.
Yes, but you have to train that. You don't just take EPO and wake up the next morning and you're
Yeah,
fast.
if I took EPO, I would not be fast.
It is Red Bull.
I would
it is,
just not get tired.
It's RBC stimulation. So this is where you're still, like, once you're on that RBC, what you do is you basically are going to go to high altitude. And I mean, this is where I think Tyler Hamilton put it really well in his book, or even though I do not like Tyler Hamilton at all, but he put it well in his book that the misunderstood part of doping is these were the people that were almost pioneering into what the human body can do, and it's a very painful process. I think sometimes people picture that it's like, oh, you doped and just, like, woke up and you were fast the next morning. It's like, no, I think there was a generation of psychopaths that were willing to carry themselves to levels that are dangerous, and plenty of people died doing this.
Right.
I mean, I just watched the Marco Pantani documentary where they were talking about a generation of Italian cyclists woke up at hour intervals during the night to jump on the trainer so that they wouldn't die of a heart attack at night.
Because their blood was so
I am
thick.
not heroizing any of this, because I think this is awful. Like, I mean, this was a terrible culture that ruined people's lives, but that is what they were doing. It's not like they were sitting on the couch and then jump on the bike for 2 hours and then jump in the Tour de France like, oh, this is easy. No, these guys are training 30,
They're
40
training
hours
hard.
a week of insane training.
And I think the EPO allowed you to train harder.
Yes.
Which is
it allowed you to go deeper. It allowed you to go harder because you have better oxygen carrying
for
capacity.
you, it'd be like, oh, you know that really ridiculous workout you did on Saturday? You can do it the next day.
Yeah.
Like, no problem.
This is my admission here, is actually why we're doing this. Got to be the worst doper ever. Are you kidding me? You'd be like, what are you doing? Oh, I just won 410. You'd be like, wow, man, you should probably get a refund on all of that stuff that you're doing right now.
Get a refund on those drugs, buddy.
So
Got the
what
bad
about
stuff.
flipping the whole thing on the slate? How do you guys feel about maybe just saying, you know what, screw it?
I love the idea of, like, a drug Olympics. Like, take whatever you want to. Do this Olympics.
This is open racing.
It would be
Take whatever you want.
I mean,
Let's-
talk about, like, drawing attention to
the
the
Tour de
sport.
Pharmacy. Wasn't there some
There
ridiculous
was
Yeah.
the Netflix
spoof
something. It
few
was
times?
hilarious.
It was hilarious.
What would you guys watch if there was
Oh.
2 Tour de France's? Would you watch the
You would want to watch
100% clean or the 100% you do whatever
I'd
the
watch
heck you
both
want?
of them.
both.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think if you look at the stats of, like, which Olympics would you watch, like, the numbers would be huge for the NBC coverage or the dope as much as you want to. And
Oh, could
the
you imagine?
times would
They've
be-
got the Tour de France and they run the stages simultaneously, but they give the natural people like an hour head start, and like they're a carrot out there, and like you want the drunk field to come catch you. Oh, that could be amazing. To
Tell you what,
watch.
I think that would hit in America too, because you got the, like, slightly out of shape clean guy who's, like, just holding on for dear life. Be like, come on, buddy, you can do it. Got the
And
robots
then-
coming
and
up
then
behind him.
Take all of that and you bet on it in Vegas.
Exactly.
There is real money to be
Because there's
made.
money to be made.
And I just think, like, that could, like,
this is the
put our sport-
conspiracy theory around Marco Pennantani's death, is that this is when betting came into cycling in the late 90s. That's when betting was not allowed in cycling until the late 90s. They believe that Marco Pennantani was killed because of that he did not follow one of the bets that he was supposed to follow.
let go.
I think he was supposed to, like, lose the Giro one year and he did not, or something like that. It was. I might be messing up that story slightly, but I think he was supposed to lose the Giro, ended up winning it.
Was
and
there
then mysteriously
cocaine?
the next
Was there
year.
cocaine involved?
Well, he did a lot of cocaine too, but
Every day.
But this is Italian, Matt, so we
would-
like to believe in romanticism
Sure.
and
I
never
know,
fault
yeah.
any of our favorite people
That's
for
right.
anything ever.
Yeah, I think that it would be much more popular sport, and when you look at, and I don't know what the rules are in like MMA fighting or CrossFit games or places like that, but my guess is that the drug, like your stringent like drug protocols are not followed as much in those sports, and they're gaining in popularity compared to the sports that we care about, which is, of course, triathlon, all of us, but also cycling.
Evan, how prevalent do you think drugs are in professional triathlon?
At the top end, I think they're becoming more prevalent. I know
let's not
a
name
lot
any
of the
names
smaller
of countries like Norwegian.
Norway, or
the Norwegian countries.
Yeah. So I think as more money starts pouring into the sport over the next few years, I think doping will increase. Yeah.
So we talk about all the different drugs. We talk about this whole microdosing thing, and probably people hear that pretty often. And I think it's kind of self-explanatory in terms of like just the concept of microdosing.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want to talk specifics about that? That's probably the most prevalent.
Yeah, I've got 60 seconds, so it's
go.
Microdosing is a pretty easy concept, but it's easy concept. I'm sure it's incredibly hard research-wise to come up with this, but. Testing basically to test positive for something, they hit thresholds, so it's like different thresholds that they'll hit. The primary example I'll use is that I think it was 50% hematocrit for the longest time was considered a flag. So that was considered a flag in your doping, which is what actually Marco Pantani tested positive for once, was a high hematocrit. So hematocrit's the percentage of red blood cells in your blood.
Mm-hmm.
Over 50 is a lot. You're definitely doing something or naturally wildly gifted. So you once you're over 50%, that red flags. Micro dosing, for example, could be you're using red blood cell stimulators, which are a lot of different types, but EPO is a really popular one. You would, in theory, want your entire team to be able to dope up to about 49%.
Yeah.
And then hold. And that's so what you're talking about, you're playing this titration game. You're just titrating a little bit of drugs just into stay below all those thresholds, but you're still getting max benefit in your training from all of this. Now, if you know you're not going to be tested for a while, just load down the hatch. I mean, just like make yourself a monster.
Let's say there's a pandemic or something.
Yeah. let's say you're in
example.
Uganda and you want to break the 5K record. Let's just say that. Let's just say me and Matt are in Uganda and we're like, let's break the 5K this year. And we're like, okay, are they testing?
Nope.
Yep, let's go ahead and do that real quick in Valencia where we know there's not going to be any testing.
Yeah.
Just as an example, which is, you know, take it or leave it. But microdosing is basically you want to stay right below all those thresholds for as long as you can until you're not getting tested.
Price out?
Yeah, I got to go too.
Interesting.
Off to cross-country practice.
Do you guys have thoughts and feelings real quick on mechanical doping? There seems to be a pretty strong consensus that there's something going on there too, but they still haven't caught anybody in the pro peloton.
It's interesting they haven't caught a lot of people. That they're investing in the technology for catching, mechanical dopers. I don't know, to be honest.
It's interesting that what the article mentioned was that there might even be motors in certain bikes where there's actually no like on-off button on the bike. It's all controlled remotely by somebody in a follow car,
team car.
Team car.
So you can't see that there's a button somewhere or something like that. Also, the detecting devices they have are getting better that they're looking for.
But there also have been mentions that there might be some motors out there that aren't going to give off any kind of magnetic resonance.
Correct.
But they also said that they can take bikes apart completely to look for motors.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's super hard to say. I would say that I expect a lot of that sort of thing to happen in smaller races, but where you have less security, where they're not going to take your bike apart. But then in other types of races where it's like the Tour de France and things like that, I'm guessing there's less. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
How much would a motor have helped you this past weekend in the cyclocross?
It would have helped a lot.
All right, Matt, I know you got to get out here real quick. Do you have any videos coming up real quick that the people know about?
I'm hoping Thursday I'll try to get out a it was the Garmin Enduro versus the Coros Vertex 2. It's kind of like the battle of the mega battery watches.
Oh, wow.
The Enduro can go 70 hours of GPS or something like that. And the Coros Vertex 2, 135 hours.
Oh.
It's like you can go out for a 5-day bike ride and you're fine.
And it's fine. Wow.
Yeah. So
watched your Brighton. Is that what that is?
The Brighton Rider.
Yeah, I watched that when I was riding on the trainer last night. Good job. Yeah, it was fun. probably not one that I'm personally interested in.
It's
but
because I think for you and Lance, it's one of those bike computers that it doesn't do Strava KOM live segment.
It doesn't do that, and I'm not a big fan of the touchscreen. So
yeah, I can see that. Otherwise, it's a solid device, and it's pretty cheap at $270 or something.
And
like
the connectivity issue with the app too would be a little.
That was annoying. That was a little bit annoying. I kept thinking like, why is my device not on here?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a other. I mean, like I had a lot of good luck with it as well.
Good.
I used it a lot. It's still on my bike. Next up, the Hammerhead Karoo. To do so. I'm going to videotape the unboxing and then I'll put it on.
Karoo 2.
Sorry, Karoo 2.
Yeah.
That's right. The Karoo 1 was the big, bad, whatever people had.
Hammerhead, I don't think they like us.
Well, we're very interested in also testing that.
Yes,
but
I'll
we
try and
can't
get the lab
one.
connected with him, and I'm 0 for 3 with my
I will
communications with him. So
drop it by over here before, after I review it, and then before I give it away. Wait, actually, I'm not giving it away to anyone because I bought it. So
Don't
good.
give it away. We'll use it and give it back to you.
Give it back to me.
there you
Yes.
go. Cool.
All right,
Thanks,
later,
Matt.
guys.
Take
Yep.
care, buddy. So now it's just me and you, Lance.
It's just the Jake and Lance show.
Yeah, we've done this before. What do you want to talk about that's still left on this whole doping thing?
I'm just so curious as to what kind of mechanical things that they are developing or has been developed that they are getting away with it. I mean, they make it sound like somebody's doing it, even though they're testing for it and they're not finding it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's still more prevalent that they're going to be dealing with physiological doping rather than mechanical doping. I still think that that's probably where the vast majority of that, but just seeing what they've done with e-bikes, and I know that that's a pretty simple thing for them to test for, but just seeing what they've done with e-bikes, there's a lot of e-road bikes now that you look at them and you have no idea.
Yes.
No clue.
You don't, you can't see the battery. You can't see a bigger bottom bracket.
Exactly. And, there's a lot of smart people on the face of this planet, much smarter than you and I, coming up with engineering and feats that are like mind-blowing. There has to be something going on out there that they're able to charge a battery without having, I don't know, any kind of like crazy big battery, or maybe, if it's going to be an electric-based motor, it's going to give off some sort of magnetic resonance. I don't know. But there has to be something that doesn't use that. There's some other technology. So I don't know. We can play the what if game all day long, but
exactly.
There's going to be something out there that's going to pop up, and we're going to be like, oh, that's what they were doing back in 2020. So, all right, let's put that one to bed. I always hate talking about that because you have these riders that you really respect and you look up to them, and they're just just superhumans. And
yes.
You want to think they're not doing anything, but my God, I don't know. I mean, you got your Bradley Wiggins, you've got your Chris Froomes, you've got your Peter Sagans, you've got your new stuff. You got the Pogachas and your just all the guys that current it's starting to come out a little bit that there's some cracks in the whole Sky Train back in the day. So you start to look at those guys, and that just makes you look forward into the guys that you respect now. And it's just like, oh, what are they doing?
It just puts a question mark on everything.
Yeah.
Is this legit or is it not?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Still enjoy watching the races though. So the fact that they have to be discreet, the fact that they have to work really hard at not getting caught is probably a challenge in its own right. And it's not them going full bore, just off the rails, with the drugs. They're just 10% faster than everything else that's ever been. So, I don't want to ramble on. We'll just let that go away, and I'm curious to know what other people say. So,
true.
All right, moving on into one last thing. It's just me and you. What do you got?
I'm looking forward to the World Championship road race, which is going to happen this weekend.
Yep.
It is in Belgium. I certainly hope that Wout van Aert can pull off some magic in his home country. That would just be fantastic.
That would be pretty special.
But it's like a long race. It's like 150 miles or something like that. And
what is the course profile like? Is it a pretty hilly race?
Yeah, there's like 10 or 12,000 feet of climbing or more because it's so long. But it's no long sustained climbs, I believe. So a little more punchy. So
Wouts of the world can probably hang in there.
Have a shot.
Vanderpool going to be there?
He is. They announced today that he is going to line up and race for.
Interesting.
So
who are the odds-on favorites? Do you have any of that information?
This is a great course for Alaphilippe again because there's no big long sustained climbs. Wout is one of the favorites.
Yep.
Vanderpool is a big question mark because of his back injury.
Is Pogacar going to be there?
Pogacar's going to be there. Roglic is going to be there. And those guys can mix it up
They can
as
hit,
well. Yeah. So those are kind of the favorites at the moment.
Huh. Speaking of Peter Sagan, not that I think that he's a doper, but is he going to be there?
I don't know.
Interesting.
You know, he switched teams.
Yep.
I think he went for a payday, and it's a smaller regional French team instead of a big World Tour team.
Do they have a card for the Tour next year?
No idea.
Huh. I know that he took Specialized with him, so
he did.
Maybe Specialized will talk to some folks.
Yeah. So it could be interesting.
That'll be a fun race to watch. And you're pulling for Wout, huh?
I'm pulling for Wout.
I'll be right there with you on that one. My one last thing is we just came out with a video.
Yes.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. We got that posted up this weekend. I said to the last podcast that we were going to have that coming out, so I kind of put myself under the gun to get that done this past weekend, so I got to post it up, and it's doing all right. It was a fun little video. So
it's all about road tubeless tires.
Yeah.
What our thoughts are on it, why it's good, why it's bad, all that jazz.
You know what's kind of funny is I actually kind of posted up in a few different places and just asking people in general, and there was a comment too on the actual video in the comment section about people being pretty firmly, adamantly against tubeless, and that they're still going to ride tubes, and that mountain biking and its technology needs to stay in its own lane. I thought that was kind of an interesting comment, and I was like, wow, like you are.
Why can't we get better?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And part of the gripe was I don't want to spend 30 plus minutes dealing with getting a tire on the wheel and sealant and mess and all that other stuff. I'm like, if the newer wheels and the better tires, it's not like that. I mean, if I were to give you all of the supplies you need, you had a raw wheel, you had the tape, the stem, you had the sealant and the tire and all that stuff. How long would it take you to have a tire, just one wheel, fully set up?
Fully set up, 10 minutes tops.
That was what my response was. Yeah. I said 10 minutes or less, and you're rocking and rolling, and you're dealing with a more supple ride that's going to be more compliant, better rolling resistance. Your punctures almost go out the window. You just don't have them anymore. Why wouldn't you want that?
Because the first time I did it, it took me 2 hours.
Yeah, there's that too. But things have changed. So anyway, if you want to go check that out, go to youtube.com/dialed cycling. You can check out all of the videos that we've posted up there because those have been fun.
They've been fun.
Looking forward to a few coming out here in the future too. Lance and I are going to be working on some stuff. Top secret.
We got some ideas.
Cool. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, bud. And to everybody listening, we really do greatly appreciate it. Until next week, bye for now.